Hi, welcome to this video on data exploration. In the previous video, we discussed about reading the data into the Jupyter Notebook using pandas. In this video, we will move to the second step in data exploration, that is variable identification. Let's have a look at the topics that we will be covering in this video. First of all, we will understand what is variable identification. Then we will have a look at the reasons to perform variable identification. And finally, we will see how we can perform variable identification. So let's get started with our first topic. So, what is variable identification? Variable identification is the process of identifying which variables are independent and dependent variables. At the same time, we identify these variables as continuous and categorical variables too. But why do we need to make these identifications? As it turns out, all supervised learning algorithms like linear regression, logistic regression, etc. require a dependent variable. Also, algorithms handle categorical and continuous variables differently. So, there are different processing techniques for these types of variables. So, what is the difference between dependent and independent variables? Let's first talk about dependent variables first. Dependent variable is the one we are trying to predict. For example, the survived variable in the Titanic problem. Whereas, independent variables are the one which helps in predicting the dependent variable. For example, the 6 in the fair variable in the Titanic problem. So how do you identify dependent and independent variables? They can only be identified from the problem description at hand, and there is no other way to identify these attributes. Let's look at this problem statement and the data dictionary which supplements this problem description. Can you identify which variable is an independent variable and which variable is a dependent variable from this problem description? Let's have a look at the problem description first. The problem is that the data scientists at Big Mart have collected 2013 sales data for 1559 products across 10 stores in different cities. Also, certain attributes of each product and store have been defined. The aim is to build a predictive model and find out the sales of each product at a particular store. So, what we need to find is the sales of each product at a particular store. Now, when we look at this dictionary, we can see that item outlet sales is a variable which contains sales of the product in a particular store. And this is what we need to predict. So, item outlet sales becomes our dependent variable, while the rest of these variables become independent variables, which can be used to predict this dependent variable. The second type of variable identification that we do is identify whether a variable is a categorical or a continuous variable. Categorical variables are discrete in nature. For example, survived, 6 variable, etc. So how are they discrete? Let us look at an example. This is the distribution of the 6 variable of the people present on Titanic. So we can see that 6 variable had only 2 values, male and female. So therefore it is categorical in nature. Whereas continuous variables can take any value between its minimum and maximum value, like age. A person can be 10 days or 11.5 days old too. So this is the distribution of the people present on Titanic. So the age ranged from 0 to 70 and the possible values of age was any value between these two values. So that is why age is a continuous variable. So how do we identify categorical and continuous variables using pandas? It turns out pandas stores categorical and continuous variables in different formats. Categorical variables are stored as objects, while continuous variables are stored as int or float inside pandas. And pandas provide a method called dtypes which tells whether the variables are of object type or int or float. So this information can be used to infer whether a variable is a categorical or continuous. So this was all about variable identification. In the next video, we will see how we can perform variable identification in Jupyter Notebook. Thank you.